Buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving deep into the career of an educational rock star,
Oh, yeah.
Joe Marquez.
I love it.
This guy is seriously
You said it.
shaking things up in the world of education, and you absolutely need to know about him.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about Joe is he's not just passionate about education. I mean, anybody can be excited about education, but he's a true innovator,
I know.
especially when it comes to using technology to make learning actually happen for kids.
It's incredible. And to think, this all started in a small town in California,
Yeah,
and now he's impacting schools across the country. I mean, that's Joe's story.
I love that.
From his early days in Clovis, California, he's been blending his love for education and tech, which we are going to get into. But first, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
His 10 years at the Clovis Unified School District. What was he like back then?
I mean, even way back then, he was already ahead of the curve.
Wow.
Joe wasn't just using technology for the sake of it. He was laser focused on how it could actually help students learn better.
So give us an example. What did that actually look like in the classroom?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me in the research was Joe's use of interactive whiteboards
Oh, yeah?
to create these dynamic lessons.
Right.
He went way beyond just like presenting information, you know?
Right.
He actually got students involved in the learning process.
Interactive whiteboards. I mean, that brings back memories, but I bet Joe was using them in a way that was way more engaging than what I experienced
Oh, absolutely.
back in the day.
He was using them to facilitate collaborative activities, run simulations, give students instant feedback.
Wow.
Think about how much more exciting and effective that is compared to just like sitting there listening to a lecture.
Right. It's a total game changer.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this was just the beginning for Joe. From there, he went on to become an education strategist for CDW,
Yeah.
working with schools across 5 states. Now we're talking
That's a big jump.
expanding your impact.
Yes. This is where Joe's expertise really shines. I mean, we're talking about helping entire districts integrate technology effectively,
Right.
not just one classroom anymore.
So did the source material mention any specific technologies that he was promoting at CDW?
Yeah, they do. He was a big advocate for cloud-based learning platforms.
Okay.
Think Google Classroom or Canvas, these tools that allow for seamless collaboration and personalized learning experiences.
And those platforms have become essential, especially in today's world.
Yeah,
It sounds like Joe had a real knack for spotting the potential of these technologies early on.
absolutely. He wasn't just following trends, he was actively shaping the future of education
Wow.
by making sure schools had access to the best tools and resources.
So from leading classrooms to consulting for entire districts, Joe was clearly making a name for himself, but then he takes on this huge role at CUE,
Yes.
the California Computer.
Using educators.
For anyone listening who isn't familiar with CUE, it is a massive organization.
Dedicated to promoting the effective use of technology in education, and their spring conference is legendary. I mean, it's where all the biggest names in ed tech come together.
I've heard it's basically a giant playground for anyone who loves educational technology.
Yes,
And Joe was right in the middle of it all as the Director of Academic Innovation.
that's right.
What were some of the initiatives that he was leading?
Well, one of the biggest things he focused on was professional development for teachers.
Of course.
He recognized that even the most cutting-edge technology is useless if educators don't know how to use it effectively.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's all about empowering teachers to make the most of these tools.
Exactly. And Joe was instrumental in creating workshops, online courses, mentorship programs to help teachers integrate technology seamlessly into their classrooms. And he did all of this while navigating the massive disruption caused by COVID-19.
Talk about a challenge.
Mhm.
How did Joe help CUE stay relevant during such a tumultuous time for education?
Well, he was a key player in shifting their focus to online learning and virtual events. He recognized that educators needed support more than ever, and CUE stepped up to provide it.
I love that.
He was also instrumental in leading discussions about the future of education in a post-pandemic world.
That's incredible. He was really looking at the big picture,
Yes.
thinking about how to make education more resilient and adaptable.
He was a leader in the field, helping educators navigate uncharted waters and find new ways to connect with students.
And if all of that wasn't enough, he's now a leading voice in the world of generative AI in education.
Here we go.
This is where things get really interesting.
I know.
This isn't just about using computers. It's about leveraging the power of artificial intelligence to personalize learning, create interactive content, even provide real-time feedback to students.
It's amazing.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me. What exactly is generative AI?
Okay.
And how is Joe using it in education?
Think about it like this generative AI can create things,
Okay.
text, images, even code, based on a set of inputs. So imagine a tool that can generate custom learning materials for each student
Okay.
based on their individual needs and learning style.
Oh, that would be incredible.
That's just the tip of the iceberg we're talking about. Create virtual tutors that can adapt to a student's progress in real time.
Oh my gosh.
Developing simulations that respond to a student's choices, even generating personalized feedback on writing assignments.
That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know.
But it's actually happening right now thanks to people like Joe Marquez.
Exactly. And Joe's not just talking about it, he's presenting his work to some of the most influential organizations in education. OTAN, ACSA, and California ASCD.
Hold on. I'm going to need you to explain what those are for our listeners who might not be as familiar with the education landscape as we are.
Great point. So OTAN stands for the Online Teaching and Learning Network.
Okay.
They're all about promoting best practices in online education. ACSA is the Association of California School Administrators, which represents leaders from all levels of education in the state.
Okay.
And California ASCD is the state chapter of the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development,
Okay.
which focuses on professional development for educators.
So basically, Joe is sharing his expertise with the people who are shaping education policy and practice across California and beyond.
Exactly.
That's a huge deal.
It really is, and it shows how much respect Joe has earned within the field. He's seen as a thought leader, someone who is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in education.
All right, I am officially blown away. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to reflect on Joe's overall educational philosophy.
Okay.
What are the core beliefs that drive his work?
At the heart of everything Joe does is a deep commitment to student-centered learning.
Yes.
He believes that technology should be used to empower students to create personalized learning experiences that meet their unique needs and interests.
I love that it's not about technology for technology's sake. It's about using technology to make education more engaging, effective, and meaningful for every student.
That's Joe. And it's not just about individual students. Joe also sees technology as a way to create more equitable learning opportunities for all.
Yeah, that's so important, especially in today's world where access to technology and high-quality education can vary so widely.
Exactly. Joe is a strong advocate for closing the digital divide and ensuring that every student has the chance to thrive in a technology-rich learning environment.
It's interesting to think about how all of Joe's experiences, from the classroom to CDW to CUE, have shaped his philosophy and approach.
Yeah, there's definitely a through line there. He's always been focused on finding ways to use technology to improve education, but his understanding of what that means has evolved over time.
It sounds like he's constantly learning and adapting, which is crucial in a field that's changing as rapidly as education.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another key aspect of Joe's work, his passion for digital media literacy.
Oh, this is huge. I mean, kids today are growing up in a world that's saturated with digital media. It's more important than ever for them to be able to navigate that world safely and responsibly.
It's not just about safety, though. It's also about empowerment. Joe believes that students should be creators of digital media, not just passive consumers.
I love that.
He wants them to have the skills and knowledge to tell their own stories, express their creativity, and even use digital tools to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, that's so much more exciting than the computer class I remember from high school, which was basically just learning how to type and make PowerPoint presentations.
Right, we're talking about a whole different level of engagement here. Think about students creating their own podcasts, designing websites, coding video games, producing animated films. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Okay, now I'm really wishing I could go back and retake computer class. But
Yeah.
seriously, how is Joe promoting digital media literacy in his work?
Well, the sources don't go into a lot of specifics, but they do mention that he's a strong advocate for integrating digital media creation into the curriculum at all grade levels. He's also a big believer in providing teachers with the professional development they need to feel confident teaching these skills.
It's amazing to think about the impact he's having, not just on individual students, but on the entire field of education.
He's truly a trailblazer. He's not afraid to push boundaries, to challenge the status quo, and to envision a future where technology is used to create truly transformative learning experiences for all students.
I think one of the things that's so inspiring about Joe is that he's not just a tech expert. He's a passionate educator who genuinely cares about students.
Oh, that comes through loud and clear in everything he does. He's not just interested in the latest gadgets or software. He's focused on how those tools can be used to empower students and help them reach their full potential.
And he's so approachable.
Yes,
I bet he's the kind of person who can explain complex concepts in a way that anyone can understand.
absolutely. He's a gifted communicator, and he's passionate about making sure that everyone, from students to teachers to administrators, feels comfortable and confident using technology.
As we've been talking about Joe's career, I keep thinking back to that quote from the source material.
Oh, yeah.
My philosophy centers on making learning more accessible, engaging, and effective for all students, advocating for a student-centered approach where technology empowers and personalizes learning experiences.
It's a powerful statement,
It is.
and it really sums up everything we've been talking about today.
Joe isn't just talking about the future of education, he's actively creating it. He's a true visionary, and I'm so excited to see what he does next.
Me too. And I think it's important to emphasize that Joe is not just an individual working in isolation. He's part of a larger movement of educators, researchers, and technologists who are all dedicated to transforming education for the better.
That's a great point. It's a collaborative effort, and Joe is a key player in that network.
He's a connector, a facilitator, someone who brings people together to share ideas and work towards a common goal.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling inspired by Joe's story,
Yes.
know that you're not alone. There are countless educators out there who are just as passionate about leveraging technology to create amazing learning experiences for students.
Absolutely.
And if you're looking for someone to collaborate with someone, to learn from someone who can help you navigate the ever-changing world of educational technology.
Joe Marquez is the guy you want to connect with.
Okay, listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive into the career of Joe Marquez, I want to hear from you what stood out to you most about his journey.
Oh, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
There's so much to choose from, honestly. His whole career is an example of what happens when you put innovation and the needs of students first.
I know, right?
But if I had to pick one thing, it would be his dedication to equity.
Yes.
He's not just trying to make education better for some students.
Right.
He's working hard to make sure that all students have the best learning experiences possible, no matter what.
Absolutely. And he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk.
Yeah.
I mean, from those early days in the classroom, using technology in new ways, to leading those big projects at CDW and CUE,
Yeah.
and now this whole thing with generative AI. He's a true pioneer.
Totally. And let's not forget how passionate he is about digital media literacy.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
He gets that in today's world, students need to be more than just passive users of tech. They
Yeah.
need to be creators and innovators.
Right.
And he's giving them the tools to do just that.
It's honestly mind-blowing to think about how many students and educators he's impacted
Yeah.
across the country, and it just keeps growing with things like generative AI. It's amazing.
The big takeaway here is that Joe is a trailblazer.
He's
He's not afraid to go against the grain,
right.
to try new things, and to really think outside the box. And he always puts students first.
I love that. As we wrap up, I have one final thought for our listeners.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine you could sit down with Joe Marquez and ask him for advice on just one challenge you're facing
Well, that's a good one.
in your own work in education. What would it be?
Yeah, that really gets the wheels turning.
I know, right?
Makes you realize all the possibilities.
Exactly. Whether you're trying to incorporate new technology into your classroom,
Mm-hmm.
create more engaging lessons, or foster that culture of innovation, where people aren't afraid to try new things.
Yeah,
Joe's the guy who can help you figure it out.
he is. So what they're watching for, listeners, go find Joe Marquez, connect with him, and let's all work together to make education better.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's it for this deep dive, but the learning doesn't end here.
Nope.
Keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep pushing those boundaries. We'll see you next time.